All right, so it is 2:35, so we'll go ahead and get started for today. So I would like to invite our guests from across campus. Christine and Lorraine are presenting today from North, and Lori and I are here at Boyce. So I'm going to pass it over to Lorraine. Go ahead, you guys are unmuted and in control.
Okay, move the next slide. Just a real quick reiteration of what OER are. Open educational resources are just teaching, learning, and research resources that are in the public domain or have been released with an intellectual property license that allows for the use and repurposing by others. And this can be anything from images to a textbook to videos, syllabi, an assignment, test banks. You find all of this stuff as open educational resources. In this video here, why open education matters, we'll tell you a little bit more about why we think it's important, and I think a lot of you also think it's important that we have open education.
Education is fundamentally about sharing. Teachers share their knowledge and skills with students. Students share their questions and drafts with teachers. Those teachers share feedback, criticism, and encouragement with their students. And on it goes. In fact, if there's no sharing happening, there's no education happening. Education is sharing, period. In the past, the only way for teachers to share with students outside their classrooms was to capture their knowledge and skills in physical artifacts like books. Unfortunately, for every additional person you hope to reach this way, you have to print another copy of the book and ship it somewhere around the world. It would be a terrifically expensive enterprise to try to reach even a tiny fraction of the world's learners this way. But the internet changes the equation. Instead of printing and shipping millions of physical books, a single digital resource like an electronic book can be copied and downloaded an infinite number of times at essentially no cost. The internet makes copying and distributing free. That means we can share on a scale unimagined in all of human history, which means we can educate like never before. Except that we can't. Well, not legally anyway. You see, long before the internet was a gleam in an engineer's eye, copyright law began regulating the way we make and distribute copies of creative works like educational resources. Thus, the internet was born with a genetic defect that unmade its incredible ability to enable free copying and distributing. What the internet enabled, copyright already forbid. And this is precisely why open education is so important. Creators and authors of textbooks, research articles, and other educational materials can place an open license, like a Creative Commons license, on their works. The Creative Commons license tells everyone, hey, I'm giving you permission to reuse, revise, remix, and redistribute this material to everyone around the world. When a creator or author applies an open license to their educational materials, we call the result an open educational resource, or OER. OER are so critically important because they unlock the full technological power of the internet. Everything the internet enables, OER allows. And with open educational resources, for the first time in history, mankind has the potential to truly democratize access to education. And that is why open education matters. Education is fundamentally about
Sorry.
The OER at CCAC actually started a couple years ago because I know that I started looking at things and other faculty members had been using some. But then this year we had Achieving the Dream that gave money, granted money, however you want to put it, so that we were able to use that money to give grants to the faculty members to review, adopt, adapt, and create. The librarians have been very helpful with a lot of the grantees in finding them resources, and we're not finding the exact resources per se. What we're doing is we are reducing the amount that you have to look at. We'll look through a bunch of repositories in a bunch of different areas, and then we'll pick out what the the best ones that we find of the different resources and send them to the faculty members. And that's what the librarians have been able to do for you faculty. The faculty, of course, overall are the most important because you're the ones who do the teaching, who know the students, who interact with them. And you're working with OER is very helpful for students in that they get a cheaper education, and because they actually can get the materials, a lot of them are actually able to finish the course or to do better in the course. But it's also good for you as faculty member because you can use more open pedagogy and interact with students. And if you find a student that has a particular learning disability, or maybe is just having troubles learning a certain point, you're able to go through the different resources and find another way to help that student to learn that material. And a lot of the open educational resources, when teaching with them and using open pedagogy, you really get the chance to help students create knowledge and not just to consume it. Lori.
Hey guys, so Lori here at Boyce. So what are some specifics that are happening with OER here at CCAC? I was invited to, or I think I invited myself actually, to the department head meeting here at Boyce a couple of weeks ago. And I naively walked in and started talking to faculty about, let me help you with OERs and how can we get started on this. And they quickly put me in my place and told me about some of the initiatives that were going on here that I didn't know about. So I was super excited to hear about it. And in fact, I pulled Jill Oblock in, who's going to talk about the Social 101 that she's working with here. And I just did some quick math. So Jill is one instructor here at Boyce running 6 sections, a little over 100 students. I went out and math is not my forte, but I was able to compute average price of what the textbooks that are being used at the other campuses in Social 101 and realized that it's about $90 for an average text. Came up with just a little over $9,000 that Jill is saving her students for her classes. I was also quickly put in my place to learn about the CJC 101 initiative that I knew nothing about. I guess it's my understanding, if anybody else is on the call and correct me if I'm wrong, that it was one of the first classes that all the instructors agreed upon using an OER for the same class, all sections throughout the college. So 10 instructors, 12 sections, 260 students. I went and looked at the average price of other textbooks. Apparently the Pearson text is one of the most popular in the field, $146. So that is a $38,000 savings for the students just in those 2 classes. Helena and Mike, Chris, next slide. Thank you. Helena and Mike presented to the board some general figures that were done as of the summer of 2019, where there have been over 3,000 students that have benefited from OERs throughout the college with an $800,000 savings. What we would like to do is update those numbers and start systematically tracking that. And this doesn't include what Jill is doing or what the CJC folks are doing or what any of you who we are aware of are doing. And when Christine goes through the LibGuide in a little while, she's going to show you a place that we can upload what OERs you're using, a file, a text. Just give us some information and we can try to update these numbers, because I would bet that if we're not over 1 million, we're probably pretty darn close.
I would think so.
Yeah, probably over 1 million. So what we thought would be interesting is hearing from some faculty members who are actually incorporating OER. So we reached out to some faculty members. We're going to hear from Jackie Cavalier, who is going to talk about how she's incorporating an open textbook into her history class, and also a new initiative that she's going to be working on for the History of Pittsburgh class that she's on. So Jackie, can you jump in here?
Can you hear me, Lori?
Yeah, Jackie, you're perfect. Thanks.
Great. Hi, everyone. And thanks to Lori for preparing this for me. I have two things that are going on right now in the history courses under my instruction, but like CJC, my full-time colleagues, Lori Sprankle and Aaron Hoffman, are looking in HIS 104 and 105 to adopt the American Yawp, which is the OER from Stanford University Press. So we're looking to make it universal, which one of the advantages that I see is not only in terms of cost. I've always had two priorities when it comes to the textbooks that I utilize in any of the courses that I teach. First is, of course, content, but second has always been cost. Some of the textbooks have just, outrageous prices, as we all know, but when, technology became more advanced and there were more resources that were accessible to students, we ended up with packages and access codes and all of the rest of those things. So I did always attempt to compile my own resources and make them available to students electronically. Incorporating the American Yawp has allowed me a much greater flexibility, but continuity across our campuses and centers. Because what we're hoping to do is, like I said, incorporate 104 and 105 into all of those courses offered at any campus and any center, which means adjuncts will as well be required to use the American Yawp. That will help us with the assessment process and certainly other activities that our discipline, history, engages in and incorporates across the campuses. The other project, well, I would like to say about the American Yawp, and I know I only have like about 5 minutes, so I'm trying to keep all of my thoughts organized because I'm very, very excited about being able to incorporate it. But the other thing that I found very important about the American Yawp was the extent of peer review. How many eyes and how many revisions this book went through. I believe they started the project back in 2014, 2015, and it has been, revised and fine-tuned, and it's available in PDF. It can be uploaded to the Blackboard site. You can assign resources that are already nicely organized. Lori Sprankle at South has worked with the librarians to put together a wonderful library guide. She's already incorporating American Yawp in the spring. So there are just many, many things, positive things that I would like to say, about that first project. The other project is the Pittsburgh History course, Pittsburgh Past, Present, and Future. One of my colleagues and one of the most well-respected labor historians in the region is Dr. Charles McAllister, and he wrote a Pittsburgh history book, The Point of Pittsburgh, Struggle and Production on the Forks of the Ohio, a couple years back. And of course, the book, he was the labor studies, he started the labor studies program at IUP. So, it's been adopted in the state system. And of course, we've used it for Pittsburgh history. We've used excerpts of it for labor history. But Dr. McAllister, I proposed to him putting together not just a conversion of the book as an OER, but he and I working together to create an actual course. So we would be creating and pulling together all of the supplemental materials, all of the ancillary materials, all of the activities that we have composed and produced over the years. This book, I believe, has been out for approximately, let's see, this is 2019, so it's probably been out for about 8 years, and he's working on volume 2 now. So he was just absolutely excited is the understatement, but was so just thought the idea, he was very, very open to the idea that we could create a course with all of the modules and all of the assignments and all of the activities and all of the assessments and all of the supplemental materials, and that it would be more accessible and accessible to a greater audience. He is one of the greatest advocates, and I agree with him 100% on, incorporating labor history and regional history into curriculums at the high school level and so on and so forth. So
Jackie, can I ask a quick question here? This is Lori again. Do you have a platform where this content and this course will be housed?
Well, that's why this project is just, getting off the ground. So we're looking at, I've been doing research with Lumen and looking at, some of the opportunities that might be available and other comparable, I think Wisconsin has done a labor history course that is an OER, the entire course. So we haven't gotten that far yet. With the help of some people at CCAC, we've been able to digitize the entire book and make it available in PDF format. So that's our starting point. And then we're going to move to converting, pulling together and assessing what we have collaboratively, meaning he, I, and other instructors, and then seeing how we can pull all of that together to create the actual course.
Okay, great. Thanks. It sounds great. You're going to have to keep us posted. And if there's anything we can do to help you with that, let us know.
Yeah, I'm just to, in conclusion, I'm much further along with the U.S., the American YOP, because I started that project earlier and had projected to get the Pittsburgh History Project up and running, this semester in the fall, just start with assessing and determining the framework and how we would move forward. So it's in the earliest stages.
Great. Okay, next we have Joanna Kazmersik, and she's going to talk about the initiative that the bio faculty have done with converting their A&P materials for Bio 161 and 162 into a full OER. Joanna, are you on?
Oh, sure. Hello. Well, first we'd like to really thank our wonderful CCAC OER work group that kindly provided us with a grant, which was used in the aid of the creation of these materials, and also to publish a color atlas that we worked on over the summer and could now provide for no cost for our students to use in our laboratory. And the atlas is based on models and slides, various figures, activities that we have inside the laboratory that was created into a sort of digital workbook that students can use within the laboratory setting for review activities. And a big thank you. This was a big collaborative effort with Caroline Evans and also Robert FICO. We spent a lot of our summer putting together the content to implement this fall semester. One other benefit that we created was the use at Allegheny campus of common lab books within the laboratory for both A&P 1 and A&P 2. So this was our pilot semester where our wonderful full-time faculty and our adjunct faculty are all using the resources. So we're getting feedback this semester as to what content they'd like to keep, what we'd like to change, where we'd like to improve material. But so far we're getting lots of positive feedback, especially from the students that are very grateful for the minimal cost associated with the content. So they didn't have to pay for lab manuals or atlases this semester. We're using the wonderful OER textbook from Rice University that the students were provided with as a PDF. And in terms of content. They seem to really enjoy what they're doing in the laboratory. Each instructor can sort of pick and choose some of the material that's provided, whether they'd like to do figure labeling activities. We have problem solving, critical thinking activities within the content. So it's flexible for the instructor use. And we're really excited about the material. It's saving students a lot of money, and I think they're enjoying it. And Caroline, I'm not sure if you'd like to add anything, since Caroline is using this in her laboratories and lecture sessions this semester.
So I've never had a student try to hug me on the first day, but when I told them they were all getting a free textbook, like that they could just download it, and I handed out their free lab manual and everything, they were just kind of overwhelmed. But because the books usually cost about $400 for A&P 1 and 2, and that's just a cost that Joanna and I could no longer stomach because we were tied to some publisher. So now we're really excited that our fellow faculty at Allegheny have really embraced it and really like the continuity. We were very worried that people would think we were the A&P police telling them what to teach. But we've created enough variety in the activities that cover 80%, add, subtract, do what you want. And people really like that. They like to know that they're doing the right material and getting students what they need. So I'm very excited that we can keep improving it and digitize the atlas, ideally for the spring or next summer, so they can just pull out a laptop in the lab and work on the activities while they're looking at the models. So hopefully we'll get to that point. That way there won't be any more paper unless the student really wants to print it out. So yeah, it's been great.
Okay, thanks guys. Next, we've got Valerie Keebler, who's going to talk to us about her art classes, Art 103, 104, in which she adopted an OER text, as well as using supplemental materials from things like the Metropolitan Museum and other amazing digital collections. Valerie, you on the call? Val?
Muting is just such an important step here. Can you hear me now? Okay. Following both Jackie and Carolyn and Joanna's comments, I found that the first day when I was teaching, I told the students, you know, this is the textbook you need, and I was surprised because it was my first day in the classroom for a community college that the students gave me a lot of pushback for spending between $140 and $180 on an art history textbook, which was not the major of most of the students that were in the class. I tried to soften it with telling them they would have a very academic looking coffee table book later. They did not buy that. So I spoke with Scott Cornish, and what we decided to do as a stopgap was he had collected several art history texts, because art history in itself, because we're really not going that far into the modern text, it's not changing much from older editions. So what we did is I went out to the half-price bookstore and I bought every textbook possible. So we came up with about 20 various textbooks, right? Which was great because we put a textbook in everybody's hands. They were just checking them out. It was horrible trying to come up with an assignment when everybody's book was something different. It was different chapter numbers and different pages. So that worked for like a semester. And then I reached out to Lori and said, help. So she was very, very helpful. Our first piece that we came up with was a Lumen online text that basically just has a bunch of links and takes you to different places. So it didn't really have the look and feel of a text, but it was helpful. And then I supplemented that. We were able to find lots of different pieces through different museums. So I was able to bring a lot of pieces together. And then later in the semester, Lori sent me an email. She was like, here's the link. Do you think this will work? And it was exactly what we needed. So it was this history of Western art. It was freely available. It allowed me to slice up pieces so that we could just put the different PDFs with the sections. We could supplement really well with videos. My course is set up so that students have a baseline of knowledge that they're going to get tested on. And then because they're doing their own research and putting things together, they could dive deeper in any semester. So we were able to put together all of these pieces. So basically each week you have like that required piece, which is this component, and then some other videos. And then there's a lot of deeper dive information, which, you know, Lori was helpful in pulling out all of that. So what I found was Joe Delphia and Scott Cornish were both really excited about the fact that we could bring this together. So we've been taking this, and everyone who gets hired to be able to teach in this course, they've been providing them this OER so that we can utilize it within all of the upcoming classes, so that students are not needing to pay for that. So I've not been able to get the online hugs that I think that they might be wanting to give out, but I'm feeling the love.
Thanks, Val. I'm glad it worked out. And it really is a cool book. Like I remember when I found it, I thought, I think this is it, you know, and it's a neat source. And there's a link to it on our OER by discipline page for anybody who might want to take a look at it. It isn't as cool as the coffee book table version, but it's close. So
well, what I liked about that, Lori, was that the book that had originally been checked with, that was originally selected by the department, which was the Jensen Book of Art History, this book had almost all the same photographs and all the same content. So it seemed like we had lost absolutely nothing by going across this platform.
That's cool. Yeah. Okay. Great. Thanks, Val. And finally, Jill Oblak, the Social 101 instructor that I was talking about here at Boyce, where I got schooled in terms of what was happening here with OER. So, and Jill was kind enough to jump in here and talk to us about how she adopted the OpenStax book. So, Jill, are you here?
Yeah. Hi, Lori.
Thanks, Jill.
No problem. So similar to what the previous people had said, a lot of my concerns actually ended up being easily resolved. Interestingly, the book I was using before was over $200 for a student, especially if they bought it new. It would depend on the format, certainly. As a result, very few of my students actually had the textbook in class. And I had all of the, you know, you can have it within 2 editions and things like that. They just did not spend the money. Right now, actually, all of the SOC sections at Boyce are using the OER. So it's in addition to the ones that I'm teaching. And actually, that was a nice way to connect with the adjuncts, some of whom I had not met before. Before adopting the book, I actually took about 4 different textbooks into my spring courses and passed them around and asked my students, you know, okay, the book we're using, which is, you know, really good, really comprehensive, has lots of resources, but obviously very high cost, and then showed them kind of a mid-tier that was, you know, somewhere like $90, I think would have been the cost for that one. And then lastly, the OER, which was free. And unanimously, my students said free. And I said, well, but you know, this book's a little better, and look, it has all these great maps and charts and pictures. And they said, no, free. And I said, well, you know, I'll hold you more accountable for reading, and you have to, you know, if I don't talk about it in class, but it's in the book, it can be on the test. And they said free. And I thought that was pretty convincing. So I started looking for a book. Some of my concerns were things like, I was a little worried about legitimacy, actually. You know, am I using a book that's going to be substandard and it's not going to have the same content? That really isn't the case, partly because the ASA, the American Sociological Association, has a framework for intro social content. So pretty much all of the publishers, the content is the same. It's just a matter of how they present it. I was a little concerned about the support resources. The ones for the OER book are not as good as some of the publishers' support materials. So that's been a little bit more effort on my part, but actually, you know, I tend to adapt a lot of that anyway. So I'm a little bit, you know, having to redo my tests, having to redo my PowerPoints, things like that. The OER book doesn't quite have the same, you know, jazzy pictures and so forth. So again, you know, I'm supplementing that with my in-class presentations. Really the biggest issue was just the bookstore was not very responsive. I'd asked them to provide some print copies, which my understanding was they'd be able to do, and I got no response. And then when students went to buy the book, they said, no, we don't have it, you don't have a book. So that was a little frustrating on both ends. The students kind of didn't take it very well. Some of the benefits of doing it, as I think Joanne had said, 100% availability on day one. And that was both for in-class and online. The students can order a paper copy at a pretty low cost. It's like $25 or $30 to get it shipped. And I've seen a lot more of those in my classroom than I used to when I had a more expensive textbook. One of the other advantages is I don't have to make accommodations for the fact that I know they didn't buy the book. I spend a lot less time, going through definitions and kind of, intro kinds of material, and we spend more time on discussing and applying concepts, which I think is a better education. It was easy to link into Blackboard, and I have a Blackboard site for, both in class and online. I guess we all do now. But that way, again, students have easy access. There's a mobile app that most of them get on their phones, and since a lot of students do most of their online work on their phone, they were very receptive to that. Some of the publishers have that as well, but again, having that for an OER book was a nice plus. And then, like I think Valerie said, one of the big advantages was the book's a little more straightforward. Some of the Social 101 books are very, very heavy with detail, and all of our social students are social science elective students. So it's a little more targeted to what they're trying to get out of it, and I don't delude myself that they're going to remember most of the detail in another year. So it's just much more efficient and much more appropriate, I think, for the population we're serving.
That's great. Thanks, Jill.
Sure.
And I'm glad that there are other instructors here at Boyce using it. And just one, what it was almost $10,000 just for your students. So that's pretty amazing. So, and I was glad that we had the four plus Caroline faculty members join us, because I really thought that could give a perspective to some of you who are a little bit uncertain about what some of the issues are. Does anybody have any questions for the four of them?
And you can just at any time unmute yourself. I'm only the police to mute you if your phone is making weird noises. So.
Okay, but reach out, because I know that all four of them would be happy to talk with you about any issues that they may have had in terms of adopting and making the transition. And I would think as a non-teaching faculty, for me, it would seem like a pretty scary leap to go into that kind of uncharted territory about, gee, now I don't have those nifty publisher features that make that book $200, right? So it's got to be a complete revamping of how you're thinking about your curriculum. So so I'm glad the four of you were able to join us and willing to jump in here. I appreciate that. So I'm sorry,
Jackie. Can I add one more thing about the American Yop?
Absolutely.
One of the other things that I found to be very attractive is that it is available in paper copy for $24.95 as well. So if a student would prefer to have the actual, hard copy of the textbook, it is a very minimal price of $24.95. But again, everything's uploadable to the Blackboard site, and so it's at their fingertips. But it does. That was important to me that students who would possibly have that preference, that option did exist for them.
Yeah, and we also got and I think that's great, because I know that me personally, I would probably, and I've got gray hair, so I would want that hard copy book in front of me. So it's great that they could do that. And Corinne Bauman couldn't join us, but she's doing math. She incorporated OERs into her math 080 and 090 sections over at Allegheny, and I was included in an email that she sent that for the first time in and she went with the OpenStax math books for those courses, and what stood out to me in the email that she sent talking about the experience with that and all the work she put into it, for the first time in all the years she was teaching, that all of her students in all of her sections in the first 2 weeks of classes had completed their homework because they had access to the text. So I thought that was a pretty interesting note right there. So, so what we're going to do now is turn it over to Christine Beard, librarian up at North Campus, and she's going to walk a little bit through the OER LibGuide that we put together. So, Christine, it's all you.
Here we are. Okay, hi everybody, I'm Christine, I'm a librarian here at North, and we are going to talk about how you can get started using OERs. You have recently, just 5 minutes ago, heard about why OERs matter so much to the students and why they matter to the faculty here and how faculty have gotten started. So we in the library have put together a LibGuide to sort of help you along through this process, and you can get to the LibGuide either with this link here, or you can get there through the library homepage. And I got an email today from Helena, I'm sure you all did too, saying you can get there through the course planning section under the useful links for faculty. Now, I've never gotten there through there, but I'm sure that's a nice, easy way to do it. So this is the landing page of our handy LibGuide. And it shows you a couple different ways to navigate through our LibGuide. It shows you our OER definition, nice little video in case you've forgotten anything. And it gives you our sort of 6 major topics and our 6 sort of headings up here. You can get through to everything through both of these things, the boxes or the top part here with the drop-down menus, whichever one works for you. I'm a drop-down menu girl, so I'm going to start up here. So OER 101, this is going to give you a complete overview again of OERs. And all of our pages are set up the same way, just sort of a little navigation thing here. The important stuff right here in the middle, and we've got extra links over here on the side in case you really want to dive into every topic. So just a little thing to point out here, open and free are slightly different. You've heard all about these awesome free resources that we have for the students, which are great. We want these. And open means that things can be reused, revised, remixed, redistributed, and you can retain the stuff. You learned about that in that video. Take a second to sort of go over this again, because it's really important in the open world that you can do these 5 R's as they are known. I'm not gonna hit on that for too long, but take a minute or two and read through this stuff. Another thing that is very important in the world of OER is accessibility. Accessibility has 2 meanings when it comes to open. It means that you remove the barriers to cost, making OERs accessible to more people, and it means you also present the information in many forms, allowing learners to acquire, process, and express the knowledge in multiple ways. We like to say that accessibility is baked into the OERs because we, get it going right from the beginning. There's lots of links for accessibility on this page, lots of things to read about, and we also have a nice link over here to supportive services, and they can help you out with all this stuff. You just heard how faculty use OER in the classroom, and there's lots of information here about how to use backward design to link your OERs to your learning objectives. And there's also some information down here about getting students involved. So take a look at that. It'll help you figure out how to actually peg your OERs to what you're doing. So I know I'm moving through a lot of stuff really quickly here. If you have any questions, let me know. There's a lot of information on this LibGuide, and I do kind of want to try to get through it. The last part in this OER 101 is our OER lingo page. What we've tried to do on this one is put every definition you could possibly run into over here. So if you find anything that you don't know and it's not here, let one of us know. We'll try to answer it for you. Okay, so you have your basic overview of OER now. You're ready to go. You've heard other faculty are using OER. You want to find an OER to use in your class. Where are you going to go? How are you going to get started? Probably the best place to start on this LibGuide is our OER by discipline tab up here. You can see that we have divided everything into disciplines here at CCAC. And what we've tried to do is create an in-house repository of resources that have been vetted by either faculty or librarians here at CCAC. You heard about a bunch of them that are in use here. And we have gone through, you can see all the sections that we've got, and you can see we have selected textbooks, course materials, open courses that we think are good and that you can use in your classes. And if you click on one of these, you're going to be taken to the actual resource. So there you go. You can see it, you can look at it, you can say, hey, can I use this? Get on back, hopefully. Maybe, okay, there we go. So, nope. If you will recall, here is the art section, and we've also marked anything used in CCAC with this little designator here. And if it's used in CCAC, we have added a quote. Here's the one that Valerie Keebler was talking about, a quote and the classes that it's used in. So that's a really nice thing. If you are maybe a professor looking for something, you can say, hey, is there something being used here on campus? And you can find maybe an asset that is in use at CCAC and check out what other professors are using. And this little CCAC thing will give you a hint, as not even a hint, an actual sign that it's being used at CCAC. And then here is the form that Lori was talking about. If you are using an OER, we would love to know about it because we're sure that OERs are in use that we here in the library don't know about. So you can upload it right here. Just fill out this information, upload it. If you need help with any of this, let one of the librarians know, and we will be happy to help you with this. So if you have looked through this OER by discipline field stuff and you have not found anything that's working for you, you haven't found something that you like, you can go over here to the Find and Adopt section. And here you will find some information on adopting an OER. Basically, other than using the discipline tab, adopting an OER is the quickest and easiest way to incorporate an OER into your classroom. It means to use an OER in its original form to replace existing course materials. There's a little bit more information down here on how to do that. And then we have gathered some places for you to find OERs. Now, I know this looks like a whole bunch of information and it looks a little overwhelming, but what we've done is we've divided it into 3 sections for you: textbooks, repositories, and search engines. And by these links, we've put a little eye that if you hover your mouse right there, and I had it, there we go, it will give you more information about what's under each link. So you can take a look at it before you click on it and commit yourself. So this first section is open textbooks, and you saw some of the textbooks that were used by faculty, and they're exactly what they sound like, open textbooks. Most of them have been reviewed by other faculty at other colleges and universities, so you know they have been vetted by other people. And the sociology one is in use, the American YOP is in use. We can take a look at this open textbook library. You can search places like this by keyword. You can browse subjects, click on something there, see what there is. So look, you can see some accounting. If you click on read more, you can check out the table of contents, the reviews. Most of the textbook resources are like this. So there's a whole bunch of them there. You can go through, see if you can find what you like. If you're not finding a textbook that you like, or if you don't need a textbook, you just need maybe a module or some ancillaries or something like that, you can go over here to the repositories. There is a whole bunch of other stuff in the repositories, and a very good one is OER Commons. The nice thing about OER Commons is if you put in something, I'm just gonna see if I can spell psychology correctly today. I'm never sure if I can. Psychology, there we go. You can actually limit for community college in something like this, which is awesome. And then yes, you'll get a lot of stuff, but even within here, you can limit for material type. So I could decide, hey, I'm just looking for homework today, or I'm just looking for lecture, and see what I could get with that. So this is also a great place to look for your ancillary material that you might need. And the nice thing about these repositories is that we have things just for psychology, math, and science. And this is for the trades. So if you are looking for other material, these repositories are a great place to start looking. And then finally, we have these search engines. And these search engines are going to pull everything you can ever imagine from every place possible. I would tend to steer away from these search engines unless you're willing to start using your limiters and really, if you want to, maybe you're bored one night and you just really want to start looking at OERs and possibly fall asleep, these are a great thing to use. Or if you really, I mean, take a look at everything you're going to get here. It's going to search all of these. So these are great for us to use, and they're great if you really know what you're looking for and you want to use your limiters. But we've put them up there as an asset for you to use. So let me get back to where I was. There we go. So these are all places that are available for you to search for your OERs. And the last thing we have over here is evaluating. Your faculty, you know how to evaluate resources. It's the same as evaluating a traditional resource. The only additional thing you need to be able to evaluate with OER is its openness and its accessibility. That's a tough word for me to say today. So we have added a couple extra checklists and resources here for you when it comes to evaluating OERs. So you can take a look at those too. So what if you've gone through all of this, you haven't found anything in the discipline page, you haven't found any existing OERs that might work for you? You can come over here to adapt and create. The great thing about OERs is if there are existing OERs that don't work for you, you can create your own, or you can take 1 or 2 or 3 or how many ever existing OERs and create your own, which you heard the faculty talk about today. So we have some platforms here that will help you with adapting and remixing your OERs or whichever OERs you found. They're right here: Pressbooks, OpenAuthor, LibreText. You can click on those, play around with them. We, of course, are always available to help you. Contact any librarian, contact any of us, and we will help you create or adapt your OERs. The last thing that you do need to know a little bit about, or that we in the library can help you with, are licensing. This looks like a lot of information. Seems a little weird, but it's, once you get a hang of it, it's not so bad. It's the Creative Commons license, and it's what makes us able to do what we do with OER stuff. So the Creative Commons license is a license that sits on top of copyright, and it allows the creator of a work to specify how the work is going to be used, and it allows us to do those 5 R's that I talked about before. So there's some links over here that you can take a look at, and some tools that we've got for licensing. And again, ask one of us in the library and we will help you with all of that stuff. And I am now going to pass it on to Lorraine, who will take it on home.
Okay, go to the funding, please.
Yes, indeed.
We have the funding tab, which tells you a little bit about our grant and what the work group came up with for the different proposals. And for reviewing, as you scroll down, you'll see that there's reviewing. You can recruit and share. So if you are using something and you get somebody else to use the same thing you're using, you could get a little bit of money that way. And then there's the adopting, adapting, and creating. And this will explain it. And then on the right-hand side is the PDFs. One is for the description of the different grants, the adapt, recruit, maintain, all the different ones. And then there's also the application. If you are doing, if you're already getting one filled out, they are due November 4th. Nothing will be accepted after November 4th. And you would email either, you email Helena Little and Michael Sheridan Jones and with your application. Now, help and support is where we're going to go next. We did not want to leave you with nothing. So you see the LIB guide and there's a lot of stuff on it, but there are a lot of people who are there to help you with your course. We have the librarians. The librarians are there to narrow down your search. So instead of having to research all these repositories or all these different resources, we can narrow down the sources for you. So maybe you only have 20, or if there's not a whole lot of resources out there, maybe we go through a whole bunch and we come up with 5 or 6 for you that you can then peruse very deeply, and you have more time to commit to your classes and to adopting, adapting, or creating however you want. We also have help through supportive services with accessibility. You can call and talk to any one of them for information. Then we do have a toolkit that is on, which is under accessibility, which is through, or it's not on there now, it will be, through BC Campus, which is a very easy explanation on what you need to do to have your stuff accessible. But you can also ask your supportive service person on your campus to look at your stuff and say, hey, can you check and make sure that I have everything accessible on here? At least I spoke to Christopher Richardson at North, and he said that it was not a problem to check and see if the things were accessible. Inclusive curriculum, can you scroll? Thank you. Inclusive curriculum is something that as you're adapting and creating, you can include right from the beginning of your course. You can be more inclusive in the culture and in the, I'm trying to think how to say it, but you can just be more inclusive with the different types of cultures and the different ethnicities and even economics. You can make sure that we are being inclusive along with sex, religion, the whole gamut. You can do that as you're adapting and as you're creating. It's easier to do it right from the ground up. And we do have the Office of Inclusion, I can't read very well, but institutional diversity. And Jessica Spradley, yes, my glasses aren't on. Jessica Spradley, and she can help answer questions if you have any specifically on inclusivity. Librarians will do the best they can. We'll search for what we can to help you to include into your resources. But if you're concerned about whether something is inclusive or maybe something that you have is not, and you're concerned, you would email or speak with Jessica about that. And then up top, course lesson and design support. We have Ross Donahue and Justin Bush. Justin Bush, who can help you with the instructional design. That has a lot to do with backward design, putting your objectives, your learning objectives is where you start, and then you find the materials to go with your learning objectives. And that's where the librarians have been able to help in the past, where we did that, help to narrow down for each learning objective. And then the instructor, Rebecca Elenich at this point, she would go through the different ones that we picked out and looked at it and found the best that would go with each one of her objectives. But then I know Ross was able to help her with putting assessment to those learning objectives. That's beyond us as librarians, but that is something that Ross is able to do, so that when you have your course done, you not only have an OER and you have your full course, you have your assessment kind of built in, so that you know that you're covered that way with assessment. Technology, we have the information for the help desk up above. One thing with the instructional design help that way with that, you have to actually supposed to put in a ticket with the help desk asking for instructional design help. If for some reason you're not getting a response, talk to one of the librarians, and we will do what we can to get a hold of somebody for you. Because I guess technically the way you're supposed to do it is to go through the help desk saying you want instructional design or course design support. And we have the contact information for technology right up there. Is there anything else? No, there's nothing else. And just be sure to ask for help. You're not in this alone. You can ask other faculty members who you have heard here and who ways you hear more about them who are using it. I'm sure many of them, at least the ones I have spoken to, have been very excited about using OER and are not afraid to talk to you about it. And then librarians, we are here to support you, to help you with the Creative Commons, with the licenses, making sure that they're the ones, if you're using 2 different licenses, that they'll mix and that you're able to use those materials. And so you're not alone out there. And that is all that I have.
Great, thank you so much. Guys, any questions from anybody, or any comments or thoughts, or is there anything that we can answer now, or reach out to us and make an appointment? I would like to open it up for any questions that you may have. They're a quiet group.
They usually are. The chat window works too. I'm monitoring the chat. So for those of you that don't want to speak up, you can always hit me up in the chat window and I can pass your question along.
I think the important thing is just know that there are people here to help you with that. I've worked with a couple of faculty members here at Boyce where they've reached out to me about certain topics, and I've pulled together, you know, a dozen or so things that I think might be suitable for them to review. And, you know, any of us are happy to do that. So we know how to maneuver through some of the repositories, and we've got something there. Repositories to kind of narrow things down and provide a list of links for you to do and take a look at. So we are happy to help with that. So we have a question.
It says, no questions. Thank you for your hard work, librarians.
Librarians getting respect. Yeah.
I was going to say too that if we find materials for you and that those materials don't seem to fit what you need, just don't be afraid to say, no, these aren't going to work. And then get a little more specific. The more specific you can be about your learning objectives, the easier it is for us to try to search for things for you. And it's not necessarily a one-time deal. I've gone back 2 or 3 times looking for things for different faculty members, and that's okay.
And just another simple plug here. Any of you who are at Boyce or want to come to Boyce next Tuesday at this time at 2:30, we are going to be running an OER open house. It's an informal conversation, hands-on session down in the Reading Lab N306, where we're just going to sit around. I can pull up some repositories, we can talk about what you're looking for, and just have a more informal chat about all this. So I hope that you can join us there. So, and always I have an open door policy here. So come on in. So thank you so much, Caroline, for giving us this time, and we appreciate it, and take advantage of us, use us. So. And thank you to the 4 faculty members, Jackie, Joanna, Valerie, and Jill, who jumped in here. And I really thought that would be a highlight of the session, and I think I was probably right. So I appreciate you jumping in with your comments and sharing your experiences with that. So thanks, guys.
Thank you. Thank you.
Do we have another question?
It says thank you.
Oh, thanks.
Okay. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, guys. Take care.